Commander Alex Reed rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the monitor. 3 weeks of patrol duty near Neptune's orbit had left him and his crew restless. Nothing ever happened out here, just the endless void and occasional ice debris. The UES Pathfinder, a medium-class exploration vessel, drifted silently through space as Reed contemplated requesting a return to Earth base. "Commander, you might want to take a look at this." Reed turned to see Communications Officer Liz Taylor motioning him over to her station. Her face showed a mixture of confusion and excitement, an unusual break from her typical calm demeanor. "What is it, Taylor?" Reed asked, pushing himself across the bridge in the low gravity. "A signal, sir, but it's strange." She adjusted her headset and tapped at her console. "It doesn't match any known Earth or colony transmission patterns." Reed leaned closer, examining the wavelength patterns dancing across Taylor's screen. "Could be interference from Neptune's magnetic field." "I thought so too, sir," Taylor said, shaking her head. "But I've been tracking it for the past hour. It's consistent and seems to be coming from beyond Pluto's orbit. Way beyond." Engineer Mike Russo joined them, his thick eyebrows furrowed. "What's out there besides rocks and ice?" "Nothing we know of," Reed replied, his interest piqued. "Taylor, can you clean up the signal?" "Working on it, sir." Her fingers moved rapidly across the console. "There's definitely a pattern here. It repeats every 47 seconds with slight variations." Reed felt a chill run up his spine. Natural phenomena didn't create repeating patterns with variations. This was either an unknown human experiment or... "Sir," Taylor's voice dropped to almost a whisper, I think this might be a distress call." The bridge fell silent. The 3 crew members exchanged glances, each thinking the same thing but hesitant to say it aloud. Russo broke the silence. "Are we talking about non-human origin?" Reed straightened his back. "Let's not jump to conclusions. Taylor, analyze that signal pattern. Russo, check our systems for any malfunction that might be causing us to misread the signal. I'll inform Earth Command." As Reed moved toward his station, Taylor called out, "Commander, there's something else. The signal contains mathematical sequences, prime numbers, the value of pi, and what appears to be stellar coordinates." Reed stopped in his tracks. Mathematical sequences were the theoretical basis for first contact protocols, universal constants that any advanced civilization would recognize. His heart began to race. "Sir," Taylor continued, her voice now trembling slightly, "I've pinpointed the source. It's coming from an uncharted region about 2 light weeks from our current position." Reed made a decision. "Plot a course to investigate. We'll maintain communication with Earth Command." "Commander," Russo objected, "protocol states we should wait for authorization before investigating potential non-Earth signals." Reed turned to face his crew. "If this is a distress call, someone needs help. How would it look if the first action of humanity upon receiving a call for help from the stars was to ignore it?" The response from Earth came hours later as the Pathfinder approached the edge of the solar system. Admiral Wilson's face appeared on the main screen, his expression stern. "Commander Reed, your orders are to hold position and wait for a research vessel. Do not, I repeat, do not approach the signal source." Reed exchanged glances with his crew before responding. "Admiral, with all due respect, if this is a distress call, time could be critical. The Pathfinder is equipped for first contact scenarios, and we're already en route." "This is not a debate, Commander. We don't know what's out there." "Exactly why we need to find out, sir." Reed stood firm. "If someone is in trouble and we have the means to help, we should. It's what we would hope for if the situation were reversed." The Admiral's face hardened. "You're risking not just your crew, but potentially all of humanity with this cowboy diplomacy, Reed. Sometimes risks need to be taken, Admiral." Reed glanced at his crew, who nodded in silent agreement. "We'll proceed with caution and maintain contact. If there's any sign of danger, we'll withdraw immediately." After a long pause, The Admiral sighed. "You always were stubborn, Alex. Proceed with extreme caution. First sign of trouble, you turn that ship around." "Understood." "Understood, sir." As the transmission ended, Reed turned to his crew. "Taylor, continue analyzing that signal. See if you can extract any more information. Russo, prepare the ship for possible first contact scenarios." "Yes, sir," they responded in unison. Over the next few days, as the Pathfinder ventured beyond the known boundaries of human exploration, Taylor made a breakthrough. "Commander, I've decoded more of the message," she announced, her eyes wide with excitement. "It's definitely a distress call, and there are images embedded in the signal." The crew gathered around as Taylor displayed the decoded images on the main screen. They showed what appeared to be a massive ship, unlike any human design, with visible damage to its outer hull. Other images showed beings, clearly not human, working frantically to repair sections of their vessel. "My God," Russo whispered. "It's really them. Aliens." Reed studied the images carefully. "They're in trouble. That damage looks extensive." "Should we respond, sir?" Taylor asked. Reed thought for a moment. This was humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, a moment that would change history forever. And it was happening because someone out there needed help. Yes, he decided. Send a simple response using the same mathematical sequences they used. Let them know we're coming to assist. "What if it's a trap?" Russo asked quietly. Reed looked at his engineer. "Then we'll deal with that when we face it. But I won't let fear stop us from doing what's right." As the Pathfinder continued its journey toward the unknown, Reed stood at the viewport, gazing at the distant stars. Somewhere out there, someone was waiting for help. Someone not from Earth, not even human, yet in their moment of need, they had reached out across the vast emptiness of space, and humanity had answered. The signal grew stronger as they approached the coordinates. Taylor worked tirelessly, extracting more information from the complex transmission. "Commander, I've analyzed their language patterns," she reported. "It's unlike anything in our databases, but there are structures we might be able to work with. I'm developing a rudimentary translation algorithm." Reed nodded. "Good work. How much longer until we reach the coordinates?" "Approximately 18 hours, sir," Russo replied from the navigation console. As the Pathfinder journeyed deeper into uncharted space, the crew prepared for humanity's first meeting with an alien civilization, not as conquerors or explorers, but as rescuers answering a call for help from the stars. The UES Pathfinder pushed through the darkness of deep space, venturing further than any human vessel had gone before. Inside the ship, the crew worked around the clock, preparing for what lay ahead while Earth Command continued to debate the wisdom of their mission. Commander Alex Reed sat in his quarters reviewing Taylor's latest signal analysis. The distress call was becoming clearer as they moved closer to its source. Fragments of alien communication now filled his screen, strange symbols and patterns that somehow conveyed urgency and fear. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," Reed called out. Engineer Mike Russo stepped inside, holding a tablet. "Sir, I've made some modifications to our engines." His eyes gleamed with excitement. "If my calculations are correct, we can reach the coordinates almost 12 hours earlier than expected." Reed studied the schematics on Russo's tablet. "Is it safe?" "As safe as flying through uncharted space to meet aliens can be," Russo replied with a small grin. "I've run multiple simulations. The stress on the engines will be within acceptable parameters." "Do it," Reed decided. "If this is truly a distress call, every hour might count." After Russo left, Reed returned to the bridge. The main view screen displayed the vast emptiness ahead, stars scattered like distant beacons. Somewhere out there, an unknown species waited, perhaps watching the approach of humanity's emissaries. "Commander," Taylor called from her station. "I've decoded more of the message." Reed moved to her side. "What have you learned?" "The vessel appears to be carrying refugees," she explained, pointing to a series of decoded images. From what I can gather, they're fleeing from some kind of conflict or disaster. Their ship sustained heavy damage during their escape. Refugees, Reed repeated quietly. The word was loaded with meaning, a universal concept of desperation and hope. There's more, Taylor continued, her voice dropping. I believe they sent this signal to multiple locations. We weren't the only ones who heard their call for help. Reed's brow furrowed. Then where are the others? Taylor looked up at him, her expression troubled. That's just it, sir. I think others received the message and chose not to respond. The implication hung heavy in the air. Had other, perhaps more advanced civilizations ignored this cry for help? The thought made Reed even more determined to continue their mission. Hours passed as the Pathfinder raced toward the coordinates. Thanks to Russo's modifications, the engines hummed with new power, pushing the ship faster than its designers had ever intended. In the ship's small mess hall, Reed found his two officers sharing a meal. Mind if I join you? He asked, setting his tray down. Of course not, sir, Taylor replied, while Russo nodded. For a moment, they ate in silence, each lost in their own thoughts about what lay ahead. Do you ever wonder, Russo finally said, looking up from his food, what they'll think of us? Humans, I mean. Reed considered the question. I imagine they'll find us as strange as we find them. What if they're disappointed? Taylor asked. We're not exactly an advanced spacefaring civilization compared to what might exist out there. Reed shook his head. We're responding to a call for help. I doubt they'll care about our technological level if we can assist them. Or they might be amazed that such primitive beings could even detect their signal, Russo suggested with a half smile. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from the bridge. Commander Reed to the bridge immediately. The three officers rushed from the mess hall. When they arrived, the navigation officer pointed to the main screen. Sir, we're picking up a massive object at the coordinates. Reed stared at the screen as the sensors revealed an enormous vessel drifting in space. It was at least 20 times the size of the Pathfinder, with an unusual design that featured sweeping curves and structures that seemed to flow like frozen liquid. My God, Russo whispered. As they drew closer, the damage became visible. Large sections of the alien ship's hull were torn open, exposing its inner structures to the vacuum of space. Debris floated around it in a slow, deadly dance. Life signs? Reed asked. Detecting unusual energy patterns consistent with life support systems, the science officer reported. But our sensors aren't calibrated to detect non-human life forms with certainty. Reed made his decision. Bring us alongside. Minimal safe distance. Taylor, continue broadcasting our response to their distress call. As the Pathfinder maneuvered closer to the damaged alien vessel, new information appeared on their screens. Commander, the science officer called out, I'm detecting other debris in the area. It doesn't match the composition of the refugee ship. Reed frowned. What are you saying? Sir, I believe there was a battle here. The refugee ship was attacked. The bridge fell silent as this information sank in. Taylor, Reed turned to his communications officer. Any response to our signals? She adjusted her equipment, listening intently. Nothing clear, sir, but there's definitely activity. They may be trying to respond, but lack the power or equipment to send a strong signal. Reed faced a difficult choice. Protocol dictated they should maintain distance and continue attempts at communication. But if the aliens were in dire straits, time could be running out. Russo, he said firmly, prepare a boarding party. We're going to offer help in person. Sir, Russo objected. The risks are substantial, Reed finished for him. I know, but we've come too far to sit and watch from a distance while they might be dying over there. As the crew prepared for boarding, Reed recorded a message to Earth Command, explaining his decision. He knew it might end his career, but he couldn't turn away now. The boarding party assembled in the airlock. Reed, Russo, Taylor, and 2 security officers. Each wore a spacesuit equipped with universal translation devices and basic medical supplies. Remember, Reed instructed them, "We are representatives of Earth and humanity. Our mission is to offer assistance. Keep weapons holstered unless absolutely necessary for our survival." The airlock cycled, and the small team pushed off toward the massive alien vessel. As they approached, the true scale of the ship became apparent. Its architecture was unlike anything humans had designed, organic curves and structures that seemed to flow like frozen waves. They found what appeared to be an entry point, a damaged docking bay with its doors partially open. As they maneuvered through the opening, their helmet lights illuminated the interior of the alien ship. Inside, emergency lighting cast an eerie blue glow over corridors tall enough for beings twice human height. The atmosphere had mostly vented, but their instruments detected pockets of air behind sealed compartments. "This way," Reed directed, following signs of power and possible life support. As they moved deeper into the ship, Taylor's translation device began to pick up signals. "Commander," she said, her voice tense with excitement, "I'm detecting communication. They know we're here." Reed stopped at a massive door that appeared to be a sealed emergency bulkhead. "This is Commander Alexander Reed of the United Earth Space Command," he announced, knowing his words were being picked up and translated by Taylor's device. "We received your distress call and have come to offer assistance." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, with a hiss of equalizing pressure, the massive door began to slide open. As the massive door slid open, Commander Reed and his team instinctively tensed. Their helmet lights pierced the darkness beyond, revealing a large chamber filled with dozens of aliens. The beings before them stood slightly taller than humans, with slender frames and skin that seemed to shimmer with a faint blue-green glow. Their eyes, 3 of them arranged in a triangle pattern, were large and reflected the light like polished amber. Most striking were the delicate fin-like structures that extended from their heads and forearms, rippling slightly with each movement. For a moment, both groups simply stared at each other. Reed slowly raised his empty hands, palms forward. A universal gesture of peace. "We received your distress call," he said clearly, knowing Taylor's translation device was working to convert his words. One of the aliens stepped forward. Unlike the others who wore simple garments, this one was dressed in what appeared to be a uniform with intricate patterns along the shoulders. The alien touched a device at its throat and made a series of melodic sounds. Taylor's translation device processed the sounds, then produced a rough approximation. "You came. Others ignored. Why help?" Reed was struck by the simplicity of the question. "Because you needed it," he replied. "That's reason enough for humans." The alien's head tilted slightly, its 3 eyes blinking in an alternating pattern that suggested confusion or surprise. "I am Commander Alex Reed of the United Earth Space Command," Reed continued. "We're here to offer assistance." The alien touched its chest with a 6-fingered hand. "I am Tellen, ship commander of the Valori refuge vessel Horizon Light." The translation was becoming smoother as the device adapted to the alien language patterns. "We feared we would die here, alone in the void." Reed gestured to his team. "This is Communications Officer Liz Taylor, Engineer Mike Russo, and Security Officers Bell and Martinez. We're from Earth." "Earth," Tellen repeated, the word sounding musical in the Valori language. "We have no knowledge of your species in our records. We're relatively new to deep space travel," Reed admitted. This caused a ripple of melodic sounds among the gathered aliens, something like murmuring or perhaps laughter. Tellen gestured for the humans to follow. "Come, we will speak more comfortably." They were led through corridors that showed signs of battle damage, scorched walls, exposed circuitry, and emergency patches over hull breaches. The Valori moved with a fluid grace despite the evident exhaustion in their postures. They arrived at what appeared to be a command center. Valori worked at various stations, their movements urgent but organized. Large view screens displayed the damaged sections of the ship and surrounding space. "Your vessel is much smaller than ours," Talon observed. "How can you help?" "We may not have your level of technology." Russo stepped forward. "But sometimes fresh eyes see solutions others miss. If you'll share information about your systems, I might be able to assist with repairs." Talon studied the human engineer for a moment, then nodded. "Necessity breeds unusual alliances. We welcome your help." As Russo was paired with a Valori engineer, Taylor worked with their communications team to improve the translation program. Reed and Talon moved to a smaller chamber that appeared to be a strategic planning room. "Will you tell me what happened to your ship?" Reed asked. "Who attacked you?" Talon's fins drooped slightly, a gesture Reed interpreted as sadness or resignation. "We are refugees, Commander Reed. Our homeworld was deemed unviable by the Dominion." The Dominion, a coalition of powerful species that control much of this sector of space, Talon explained. "They determined our planet's resources were more valuable than our civilization." Reed felt a chill run through him. "They destroyed your world for resources." "Not destroyed, repurposed," Talon corrected, though the distinction seemed meaningless given the result. "Those of us who escaped gathered on this vessel. We sought asylum in neutral territories, but the Dominion pursued us. They consider our continued existence inconvenient." "That's genocide," Reed said, not bothering to hide his disgust. "That is galactic politics," Talon replied with what seemed like bitter resignation. "We sent distress calls to 17 different civilizations with the capability to help us. None responded. Until you. 17 civilizations ignored you." Reed was stunned. "The Dominion's influence is vast. Helping us means opposing them." Talon's third eye fixed directly on Reed, which raises the question, why did humans respond when more powerful species would not? Reed considered the question. Perhaps because we're not powerful enough to understand what we should fear, or perhaps because humans still believe some things are simply right, regardless of the risk. Talon made a sound that the translator didn't catch. Something personal, perhaps. "Your ship," Reed continued. "Can it be repaired?" "The primary propulsion system was damaged in the attack. We have been working to repair it, but progress is slow. Without it, we are stranded here." Their conversation was interrupted when Taylor entered the room. "Commander, I've been working with their communications team," she reported. "They've received a coded message from their advanced scouts." She glanced at Talon. "Dominion ships have been detected heading this way." Talon's fins stiffened, clearly an alarm response. "How many?" "3 warships," Taylor replied. "Estimated arrival in 14 hours." Reed exchanged glances with Talon. "We need to accelerate repairs. Our ship is too small to evacuate all your people." "Even if it were large enough, where would we go?" Talon asked. "The Dominion controls all nearby systems." Reed thought quickly. "Russo," he called over the comm. "Status report." "Sir, their propulsion technology is advanced, but the principles are similar to ours," Russo replied. "The damage is extensive, but with their engineers' knowledge and some creative adaptation, we might get their engines running at partial capacity." "How long?" "At least 20 hours under normal circumstances," Russo admitted. "But I might have an idea to cut that time down." "Make it happen," Reed ordered. "We have 14 hours before company arrives." As Russo set to work with the Valori engineers, Reed gathered his team and Talon's senior officers to develop a plan. The odds were heavily against them. The Pathfinder was an exploration vessel, not a warship, and even at partial capacity, the Valori ship would be slow and vulnerable. "If we can't run, and we can't fight conventionally, we need to think differently," Reed told the group. "What do we know about these Dominion ships?" "Weaknesses. Blind spots." One of the Valori officers, introduced as Defense Coordinator Mira, displayed a schematic of a Dominion warship. "Their weapons are powerful but have a recharge cycle. Their sensors are comprehensive but prioritize energy signatures over physical objects." Reed studied the schematic. An idea forming. What if we used the debris field to our advantage? Create a distraction. Talon's head tilted. Explain. Your ship is damaged but large. Ours is small but maneuverable. If we coordinate properly, we might be able to create a situation where the Dominion ships are vulnerable, at least momentarily. As they continued planning, Reed noticed something unexpected, hope beginning to emerge among the Valori. These beings had faced the destruction of their world, been hunted across space, and been abandoned by advanced civilizations who should have helped them. Yet now, with the arrival of humans, technologically inferior but willing to stand with them, they dared to hope again. It was a powerful reminder of why they had answered the distress call in the first place. 14 hours was not much time to prepare for a confrontation with an advanced hostile force, but as Reed watched humans and Valori working side by side, he felt a surge of determination. They might be outmatched, but they would not be outsmarted or outfought. The stars were about to witness something new. Humanity's first interstellar alliance, forged in the face of overwhelming odds. 3 Dominion warships approaching at high speed, Taylor announced from her station on the Pathfinder's bridge. Estimated arrival in 30 minutes. Commander Reed stood in the center of the bridge, surrounded by both his human crew and several Valori officers who had come aboard to coordinate their defense. The past 13 hours had been a blur of frantic activity as they prepared for the confrontation. Is everyone in position? Reed asked, his voice steady despite the tension. Yes, Commander, Russo replied from the engine room. Our modifications are complete. The Pathfinder can handle the power surges, but only for short bursts. Reed nodded. And the Valori ship? Talon, who stood beside Reed, answered. The Horizon Light has partial engine power. Emergency repairs to our shield systems are holding. The Valori commander's fins rippled with what Reed had learned to recognize as nervous energy. But we cannot outrun or outfight 3 Dominion warships. We don't need to, Reed said firmly. We just need to execute our plan perfectly. The plan was bold, perhaps foolishly so, but it was their only chance. The Pathfinder, small and agile, would use modified energy signatures to confuse Dominion sensors, while the damaged Valori ship prepared for a short jump to safety once its engines were fully powered. Commander, Taylor called out, we're receiving a transmission from the lead Dominion vessel. Reed exchanged glances with Talon. This was unexpected. Put it through, Reed ordered. The main view screen flickered, then displayed the image of a being unlike either human or Valori. The Dominion commander had gray, plated skin that resembled armor, with 4 small eyes set in a wide face. When it spoke, its mouth barely moved, giving the impression of a rigid mask. Valori vessel. The Dominion commander's voice was translated as flat and emotionless. Your continued existence violates Resource Allocation Treaty 5447. You will power down all systems and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in immediate destruction. Reed stepped forward before Talon could respond. This is Commander Alex Reed of the United Earth Space Command. The Valori are under our protection. The Dominion commander's 4 eyes blinked in an unsynchronized pattern that suggested confusion. Unknown species detected. Identify your system of origin and authority. I am human, from Earth, Reed replied. And my authority stems from the basic principle that genocide is wrong. There was a pause as the Dominion commander seemed to process this information. Our records contain no reference to humans or Earth. Your vessel is primitive and poses no tactical threat. Remove yourself from this conflict or be destroyed with the Valori. Reed stood straighter. We decline to abandon those who asked for our help. The Dominion commander's face showed no emotion, but its voice took on a harder edge. Primitive species often fail to understand the complexities of galactic order. The Valori homeworld's resources were required for higher purposes. Their continued existence is inefficient. From where I stand, Reed responded, the only inefficiency is your failure to coexist peacefully with other species. Enough, the Dominion commander cut him off. You have made your choice. Prepare to be eliminated. The transmission ended. They'll be in weapons range in 5 minutes, Taylor reported. Their ships are powering weapons systems. Reed turned to his crew and their Valori allies. Everyone knows their part. Let's move. As the Dominion warships approached, massive, sleek vessels bristling with weapons, the small human ship and damaged Valori vessel appeared to be easy targets, but appearances could be deceiving. Now, Russo, Reed commanded. The engineer activated the modifications they had prepared. The Pathfinder's engines flared with unusual energy patterns, creating multiple false readings on Dominion sensors. Simultaneously, debris from the earlier battle was propelled outward using magnetic pulses, creating a chaotic field around both ships. They're targeting us, Taylor called out as the bridge lighting dimmed to emergency levels. Preparing to fire. Evasive pattern Delta, Reed ordered. Time to show them what a primitive ship can do. The Pathfinder darted forward with surprising speed, weaving through the debris field in a pattern that would be nearly impossible for the larger Dominion ships to follow. The first volley of Dominion weapons fire missed, striking only debris and empty space. Telin, status of the horizon light, Reed asked through the communication link. Engine power at 67%, Telin replied. Shield modifications in place. We are ready for Phase 2. Reed nodded. On my mark. The Dominion ships adjusted their formation, spreading out to encircle their targets. They were clearly puzzled by the unusual energy readings and the small human vessel's erratic movements. Sir, Taylor reported, they're scanning us repeatedly. I think they're trying to figure out what we are. Good, Reed said. Confusion is our ally. Russo, status on the pulse generators. Charged and ready, Commander, the engineer replied from his station. Reed waited until the Dominion ships had committed to their new formation. Execute Phase 2. Now, Russo activated the pulse generators. Devices hastily constructed from a combination of human technology and Valori knowledge. They released an electromagnetic surge that temporarily disrupted the Dominion ship's sensor systems. In that moment of blindness, the Pathfinder accelerated directly toward the lead Dominion ship, appearing on their sensors as a much larger threat due to the modified energy signature. The Dominion commander, seeing what appeared to be a major attack, ordered all weapons to target the oncoming threat. Energy beams lashed out, but the Pathfinder executed a maneuver that should have been impossible for a vessel its size. It flipped end over end while maintaining its forward momentum, passing just beneath the Dominion ship's weapons range. Phase 3. Reed shouted as they emerged on the other side. The Valori ship, which had appeared nearly dead in space, suddenly surged with power. Using the distraction created by the Pathfinder, it activated a previously hidden weapons system, one last defense the refugees had been saving for a dire emergency. The weapon wasn't designed to destroy the Dominion ships, but rather to disrupt their propulsion systems. A focused beam struck the lead Dominion vessel, causing its engines to fluctuate wildly. It's working, Taylor exclaimed. Their formation is breaking. The Dominion ships, confused by contradictory sensor readings and now dealing with engine problems, struggled to maintain their coordinated attack. For just a moment, a gap appeared in their formation. Telin, go now, Reed ordered. The Horizon Light's engines flared to full power. The repairs Russo had helped complete finally paying off. The massive refugee ship accelerated toward the gap in the Dominion formation. They're targeting the Horizon Light, Taylor warned. Intercept course, Reed commanded. All power to forward shields. The Pathfinder darted between the Dominion weapons and the vulnerable sections of the Valori ship. The small human vessel shuddered violently as energy beams meant for the Horizon Light struck it instead. Shields failing. Russo reported as warning alarms blared throughout the ship. We can't take another hit like that. On the view screen, Reed watched as the Horizon Light cleared the Dominion formation and began to accelerate away. They made it, he said with satisfaction, even as his own ship's systems flickered around him. "Now it's our turn. Get us out of here. Maximum speed." The Pathfinder's engine screamed in protest as the small ship darted away from the regrouping Dominion vessels. For a moment, it seemed they might escape unscathed. Then a final energy beam caught the Pathfinder's port side, sending the ship spinning. "Stabilizers offline." Russo shouted over the noise of buckling metal. "Engine 2 is down." As emergency systems engaged and the spinning slowed, Reed looked at the view screen again. The Dominion ships were turning to pursue, but strangely, they seemed to be hesitating. "Sir," Taylor said in disbelief, "the Dominion ships they're retreating." Reed watched in amazement as the three warships altered course away from both the human and Valori vessels. "They're sending a message," Taylor continued. "Audio only." The Dominion commander's voice filled the bridge, still emotionless, but now carrying a note of what might have been uncertainty. "Unknown species. Your tactics are unpredictable. The High Command will reassess your status. This encounter is concluded." With that, the Dominion warships accelerated away, leaving the damaged Pathfinder and the escaping Horizon Light behind. As the bridge crew stared in stunned silence at the retreating enemies, Russo was the first to speak. "Did we just scare off 3 advanced warships with 1 small exploration vessel?" Reed couldn't help but smile. "It seems the Dominion doesn't quite know what to make of humans." Taylor laughed, the sound tinged with relief and disbelief. "I think we just changed humanity's first impression on the galactic stage." The Pathfinder limped to rejoin the Horizon Light, both vessels damaged but still intact, and more importantly, free. As they approached the Valori ship, a transmission came through. Tellen's face appeared on screen, the Valori's 3 eyes shining with what Reed had learned to recognize as their expression of joy. "Commander Reed," Tellen said, "the Valori will remember this day for generations to come. You stood with us when advanced civilizations would not. You fought for us when reason said you should flee. The stars have witnessed something new today." Reed nodded, feeling the weight of his choices and the pride of his crew's accomplishment. "This is just the beginning, Tellen," he replied. "Humanity has entered the galactic stage, and we've chosen how we want to be known." 3 weeks after the encounter with the Dominion warships, the UES Pathfinder approached Earth orbit. The ship still showed battle damage, scorched hull plates, and hastily patched sections that told the story of its unexpected combat. Behind it, dwarfing the human vessel, came the Valori refugee ship Horizon Light. Commander Alex Reed stood on the bridge, watching as the blue planet grew larger on the view screen. Earth had never looked so beautiful. "Commander," Taylor called from her station, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Wilson wants to speak with you." Reed straightened his uniform. "Put him through." Admiral Wilson's stern face appeared on screen. His expression was unreadable as he studied Reed for a long moment. "Commander Reed," he finally said, "you disobeyed direct orders, risked your ship and crew, and potentially exposed Earth to unknown alien threats." Reed stood tall. "Yes, sir, I did. And in doing so," the Admiral continued, his expression softening slightly, "you've given humanity its first allies among the stars and changed the course of human history." He shook his head, a reluctant smile appearing. "I don't know whether to court-martial you or give you a medal." "With respect, sir," Reed replied, "I'll accept either outcome knowing we did the right thing." The Admiral nodded. "A special landing zone has been prepared for the Valori ship. The Security Council is assembling to meet with their representatives." He paused. "They want you present as well, Commander. You've become something of a diplomat, it seems." "I'm a ship commander, sir, not a diplomat." "You're whatever Earth needs you to be right now, Reed," the Admiral replied. "And right now, we need someone the Valori trust to help navigate this new reality." After the transmission ended, Reed turned to find his crew watching him. "Looks like we're not in trouble after all," Russo said with a grin. Reed wasn't so sure. We've opened a door that can never be closed again. Earth is now known to forces beyond our solar system. Some friendly, some definitely not. But we're not alone anymore, Taylor pointed out. And we've made a good first impression. As the Pathfinder and Horizon Light approached Earth, news of their arrival spread across the planet. Humanity held its collective breath as the massive alien vessel came into orbit alongside their small exploration ship. The landing zone, a large cleared area outside of Geneva, was surrounded by military forces, scientific teams, and government officials from around the world. Media cameras captured the moment as both ships descended from the sky. The Pathfinder landed first, its engines whining with strain after the long journey home. Minutes later, the ground trembled as the enormous Valori ship settled beside it, dwarfing everything around it. Reed led his crew down the Pathfinder's ramp, where they were met by Admiral Wilson and a group of officials in formal attire. Earth's Security Council, Wilson explained quietly. They're nervous. They should be, Reed replied. But not about the Valori. A door opened on the side of the Horizon Light, and Tellen emerged leading a small delegation of Valori. The aliens' fins rippled slightly in Earth's breeze, their first experience of a planetary atmosphere since their homeworld was taken. The assembled humans fell silent, many seeing the non-human intelligence for the first time. The Valori moved with quiet dignity, their three eyes taking in the sights of Earth. Reed stepped forward to meet Tellen halfway between the ships. "Welcome to Earth," he said simply. Tellen performed the Valori gesture of respect, a crossing of hands over the chest. The Valori thank Earth for its shelter and humanity for its courage. The formal meeting that followed in Geneva's International Hall was broadcast worldwide. Tellen addressed Earth's leaders with remarkable eloquence, explaining the Valori situation and the wider galactic political landscape that humanity had suddenly entered. The Dominion controls much of the nearby space, Tellen explained. They have deemed 17 inhabited worlds resource-efficient and removed their populations. Most species either ally with them out of fear or hide to avoid their attention. And yet we drove off 3 of their warships with one small vessel, a Security Council member pointed out. Tellen's fins rippled in what Reed had learned was amusement, which has created considerable confusion within the Dominion hierarchy. Reports are spreading through galactic communication channels about a new species that defied Dominion forces to protect refugees. What does this mean for Earth's safety? Another council member asked. Tellen looked to Reed before answering. The Dominion will assess humanity more carefully now. They prioritize predictability and resource efficiency. Your actions were neither predictable nor efficient. They were compassionate and brave. This confuses them. The meeting continued for hours as information was exchanged. The Valori offered technological knowledge as thanks for Earth's help, while humanity offered shelter and resources for the refugees. When the formal talks ended, Reed found himself in a smaller room with Tellen and several high-ranking Earth officials. "Commander Reed," one official said, "we've received communications from 3 other alien civilizations in the past 12 hours. They're requesting contact with Earth." Reed was stunned. Already? How did they find us so quickly? Tellen made a musical sound that the translator didn't catch. Word spreads quickly through the stars. "Commander, your actions against the Dominion have resonated with species who have long feared them. Some who ignored our distress call now seek alliance with the humans who answered it. They ignored you when you needed help, but now they want our friendship." Reed couldn't keep the bitterness from his voice. "Such is politics among the stars," Tellen replied. "But know this, the Valori will stand with humanity as you stood with us." In the weeks that followed, Earth underwent rapid changes. The arrival of the Valori and knowledge of other civilizations transformed human society almost overnight. Fear mingled with hope as humanity realized they were no longer alone in the universe and no longer safe in their isolation. Reed found himself appointed as Earth's first ambassador to the Valori, a position he initially resisted but eventually accepted at Tellen's personal request. 6 months after the Pathfinder's return, Reed stood on a newly constructed observation platform overlooking the first joint human-Valori settlement. The Horizon Light had been transformed into a space station orbiting Earth, where both species worked together to prepare humanity for its new role among the stars. "Thinking deep thoughts, Commander?" Taylor asked, joining him at the railing. "Ambassador now, remember," Reed corrected with a slight smile. "And yes, I suppose I am." They looked out at the bustling activity below, where humans and Valori worked side by side. In the distance, the framework of a new ship was taking shape, larger than the Pathfinder, but incorporating both human and Valori design elements. "The Dominion has formally recognized Earth," Taylor informed him. "Their representatives will arrive next month." Reed nodded. "And the other civilizations? 4 more have requested diplomatic relations. The Galactic Council has invited Earth to send observers to their next assembly." She shook her head in amazement. "All because we answered a distress call." It wasn't just answering, Reed reflected. It was being willing to stand and fight when running would have been safer. That's what caught everyone's attention. As twilight fell and stars began to appear in the sky, Reed thought about how much had changed. 6 months ago, those stars had represented mystery and possibility. Now they were known quantities, some friendly, some hostile, all watching Earth with new interest. A communication device on Reed's wrist chimed. A message from Tellin appeared. "The prototype defense system is ready for testing. Your presence is requested." Earth was preparing, learning from Valori technology to protect itself in a universe that had suddenly become much more complicated. "Did you ever imagine this?" Taylor asked, gesturing at the settlement and the stars above. "When you decided to answer that distress call?" Reed shook his head. "I just thought someone needed help. That was enough reason to act." As they turned to leave, Reed took one last look at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Dominion was reassessing its understanding of humanity. Other civilizations were considering alliances they never would have contemplated before. The galaxy had been changed by one simple choice: to help rather than to hide, to stand rather than to run. The distress call had indeed shaken the stars, and humanity's answer had transformed them.